Hello, I'm Camille Kirksey, the founder of World Homeschoolers Day, the only holiday that celebrates homeschoolers worldwide. This year, the holiday offers free events and giveaways brought to you by our generous sponsors, one of whom you're going to meet right now. I'd like to welcome Brian from WriteAtHome, who's here to share with us today. Brian, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here, Camille. Thank you.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at WriteAtHome?
Sure. I'm Brian Wasko, and I'm the founder and president of WriteAtHome. I've been doing this for 23 years now. It was 2001 that I began working with homeschoolers online on ELA stuff. We started with writing skills, and from there added literature, and we've recently added some history stuff too. So yeah, we're helping homeschool middle and high school students develop English language arts skills online.
Awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the company? How exactly do you help homeschoolers?
Great. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. So we've been doing this now for, like I said, more than 20 years, which means literally hundreds of thousands of students have come through our program, which is pretty amazing to me. And it's primarily two things. We're helping students develop writing skills, so English language writing skills. That includes creative writing, academic writing, practical day-to-day writing skills, which of course assumes some grammatical skills as well, a correct but also interesting, original, powerful communication skills through the written words. That's our first thing. Secondly, we've been working with students on understanding and appreciating works of literature. So that'd be the second element of the English language arts stuff that we teach. And we do that primarily through with homeschoolers over the internet. And I could talk in a minute about why the way we go about things is really helpful, particularly our homeschoolers, but that's the idea.
Nice.
Mhm.
What is your favorite thing that your company offers to homeschoolers?
I love all that we do, of course. I created the curriculum, so all of the writing component of what we do was my original material. But my passion is books and literature. So I'm also currently at least the only literature teacher at WriteAtHome. So my favorite part of the job by far is to introduce teenagers who I love with books that I love. So getting to teach our online literature courses is by far my favorite part of what I do. Yeah.
Nice. What do
Mhm.
you love most about serving the homeschooling community, especially those teens?
Gosh, I love homeschoolers. My beginnings in education were in the public school system. I taught for 10 years in southeastern Virginia in a high school, and I loved working with high school kids generally. I love being in front of kids and engaging with them. But there are serious challenges that occur when you're in that kind of a setting, obviously. And my family decided to go the homeschool route with our own kids, something that we did all the way through. All four of our kids homeschooled all the way through high school. And we just honestly loved the freedom and individuality that is provided to homeschoolers, right? That I love that homeschool kids get to pursue the things that they're passionate about. They get to avoid being judged and bullied for the things that they like that maybe other kids don't like. Um, I found homeschool kids to be far more open and eager and excited about literature and about writing than you find in normal mainstream schools, because I think kids just get to develop a love of learning in that environment that they don't get in sort of classroom based education systems.
Absolutely. We know that is very true.
Let me tell you
Um,
this story about that, because
Good.
this is a good one. I forgot to mention this though. When I first started teaching homeschoolers, I had been teaching in this public school, and a number of families asked me to teach a 1 day a week after school writing class for their homeschooled teenagers. It was about a dozen kids. So I was eager to do it. The first day I met with them, it was in a church after I finished teaching a regular day of classes. I met with these kids in this little church, and I taught them a lesson on writing and gave them a homework assignment. And at the end of the hour, they did this amazing thing. They said, thank you, Mr. Wasko. And literally every single kid, as they stood up, hey, thank you, Mr. Wasko. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. And I literally said, yeah, for what? And they said, for teaching the class. And I thought, at that point, I've been teaching in a public school for 7 years. I said, no student has ever thanked me in a classroom except homeschoolers. And they did it every single time from that day on to this very day. Kids still say thank you at the end of classes. And that only happens in homeschool classrooms.
I can attest to that. Having been a student and been around classrooms, it's like that's not normal. They're just trying to get to the next place. So
Right.
that's a great story. I love that story.
Yeah.
What advice would you give homeschoolers looking for online writing classes?
That's a great question. So obviously what I want to tell you is just look for writeathome.com.
Of
But
course.
the truth is, another great benefit of homeschooling, right, is that you get to find the approach to almost any subject that works best for your kids. And the truth is, there are a number of different options out there for young writers and their development. WriteAtHome's approach takes what we call an organic approach to teaching writing, or a process approach, you might call it. So students who are using our writing program get 3 opportunities to write every paper. They submit a draft to a real live expert writing coach who reads your paper and responds to it with all kinds of helpful input and feedback and comment. And the student then gets that paper back with all the comments and gets the opportunity to revise it and submit it a second time. They then get it back again with more feedback and comment from a coach, and then get to submit a third and final draft, and they get graded on that third and final draft. In other words, in our program, students are coached along the process of writing: first draft, revision, and final draft, with a tutor, a personal writing coach walking alongside them. We think it's the best thing going, and it's a fantastic way to go about learning writing. Other programs out there take different kinds of approaches, and some of them are very effective as well. There are a number of different programs out there that are more sort of structured. They don't typically involve a real life tutor, which is sort of a negative. But some of them are sort of checklist based, sort of progressive step-by-step approaches to teaching writing, which isn't my preference personally for teaching writing, but it's proven effective for lots and lots of kids. So we've had students come to us from that type of system and like ours much better. We've also had other students leave our program looking for something more structured, and they've found success in those other programs. So it's just one option of many.
Absolutely. That's what homeschooling is about, finding what
Right?
works for you and your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no one right way to teach
absolutely not.
writing. Right.
What works in the moment is the right way
Right. And
because
for
that can
your
change too.
student, right?
That's
And
right.
and we all know this, right, as parents, that sometimes it works for one student, but not for
Yes,
another in our own household.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are 3 ways that your company helps homeschoolers?
So one is in the area of writing. Let me talk about that first. So one of the things that we fundamentally believe about writing and writing skills is that every single student is a writer, that every student has the capacity to become a powerful, forceful, clear speaker and in written communication. In other words, every student has a unique voice and unique experiences and something valuable to say. And our job as writing coaches isn't to give them some kind of tools and tricks that don't already reside there, but to simply allow students to sort of find that voice in there to help remove the obstacles that keep kids sometimes from just being able to communicate what's on their hearts and minds. We think it's already there, in other words. So that's our number one thing when it comes to writing skills, is we want students to find their own voice and begin to believe in themselves as writers. We found that the biggest problem most students that come to us face, if they're struggling, is that they don't fundamentally believe they can be a writer, right? They think there's something wrong with them. I'm not good at writing, that kind of thing. And we're just here to say, no, you are. It's just a matter of getting rid of the stuff that's in the way and finding that voice so that you can speak to the world what you uniquely have to say. So writing, that's that one. When it comes to literature, my great joy is to help students discover the joys of good books, right? Learning that they're not going to love every book, but they're going to over time find that man, powerful works of literature that have existed for centuries, sometimes for centuries. can really speak to us and enrich our lives and make us better, richer people. So those are the two main things would be the writing and the literature. And then, of course, we also have added recently history, and we're trying to get kids also to find the joy in studying human history, the lessons that it teaches, just both negative and positive. So that'd be those three things.
Absolutely. Those are great. Those are great.
Thanks.
Can you share something that you don't think most homeschoolers know about Right at Home?
Sure, we exist.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that's just so difficult about a program like Right at Home and the homeschool community is it's very difficult to find ways to communicate to everybody in the homeschool world about the fact that we're around. We've been here for 20 plus years, and I can't tell you how many times it still never ceases that I go to a homeschool convention. Sometimes I'll go to a homeschool convention that I have been to for 15 consecutive years, and a mom, at least one, will say, I've never heard of you guys before. Like,
Yeah.
I've been right here.
That's so true. I
yeah,
know.
yeah, that's
But
the
we're here
main.
now. We're getting the word out there once again.
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Yeah. So why does having diverse and inclusive products and services matter to Right at Home?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because this is something that's become something very important to us in recent years. So for most of the history of our literature courses, we followed what we now refer to as a classical approach. So we studied the great books of Western civilization, starting with the ancient Greek culture all the way through modern literature, in 4 consecutive years. So a chronological study of these great books. What occurred to me a couple of years ago was the problem with that, as wonderful as that is, and as important as it is to study that type of literature coming from the culture where most of us reside, and being familiar with the literature of my culture, I think matters. That's important. But what ends up happening is the majority of stuff that we read ends up coming from a predominantly white European male perspective, because that's what has been over the period of history, predominant in literary study. So last year I introduced an additional class that I called World Lit, which very intentionally studies the literature of cultures outside of the Western world. So we spend units talking about the writing of Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. And at the end of all that, we have an additional unit on minority American writers, which just don't get enough coverage in our typical 4-year course. So we're kind of excited to be able to offer that new thing this last year. And then this year coming up, we're adding something even better, which is a whole new track of literary study that doesn't necessarily follow the great books curriculum. It's a little bit more in line with the way schools typically organize their literary studies. And we'll talk about more of that in a minute. But that
Yeah.
also will weave into its curriculum more writing from a more diverse type of author than our classical stuff.
Yeah, it's just so important to include all voices from all places and all times.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
What inspires your company to do what it does?
Oh gosh.
You had to narrow it down. I
It's
know
such a joy. It's such a joy. I think this all the time. I say what you will about capitalism. There are times when it just seems to be this like perfect mesh. For example, I get to do what I really, really am passionate about doing: teach kids about literature and growing their writing skills. Right? That's what I get to do, and I get to hire writing coaches. I actually just had a meeting just before this meeting with all of our writing coaches. We've got a team of about 50 or 60 tutors who work with students, and these folks are so enthusiastic about the stuff they do. They get to do what they love doing, working with students and watching their writing grow. It's so fun to watch them and their enthusiasm. Then we've got students who talk to us all the time about the fact they're learning, but not just learning, but really enjoying the experience, right? They love this experience they're having, growing their writing skills, learning that they really can write, or being introduced to literature and really finding it engaging. And then, of course, parents are thrilled because somebody out there is providing this help in an area where they need help. And I just feel like it's not just a win or a win-win or a win-win-win. It's literally a win-win-win-win situation, right? When the teachers, the students, the parents, everybody gets to experience, benefit from this thing, and everybody ends up being appreciative. It's just when it's working well, it's just a beautiful thing that we all get to do something we enjoy doing and benefit from it.
Absolutely. That's the ideal situation, really. That's what we all want in all aspects of life, really. Awesome. What can people expect next from your company? You
Okay,
talked about it a little bit.
let me talk about that. So let me just explain this a little bit better. So we've done this. So I'll just say this: our writing program, which is the biggest thing we do, right? Write at Home is a writing program. Fundamentally, that hasn't changed. That's going to remain the same in this upcoming year. So our amazing writing courses just continue to help serve students around the world. Our literature courses are offering this new track where, in addition to the classical track, which we've been doing for years and still love and will continue to offer, we're now going to be offering courses in a sequence that better reflects what schools are doing. So rather than taking Lit 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are sort of chronological, starting from ancient Greece, we're going to be offering Introduction to Literature for a 9th grade course. And it's a genre-based course where we're going to do units on different genres of literature. And then an American literature course, which obviously just covers the literature of American authors, British Lit in year 3, and then World Lit, which is similar to what I've described before, sort of a non-Western emphasis, but but covering literature from outside of that Anglo-American tradition. So that's the really new thing we're doing, and we're offering the same thing with history. So in addition to history that covers those time periods, we're offering an American history course, a 2-part world history course, and a government and politics course. So all that's going to be new coming up this year.
That's amazing. That's a lot to offer. And I love your approach overall. So I know it'll carry forward into these other courses too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like the audience to know?
Couple things. One, we have the best money back guarantee that I know of in the homeschool world. We are so sure that what we do works, that we want to reassure people right up front that they're never going to waste their money. My little motto is either you get your money's worth or you get your money back. Mm-hmm. So with Write at Home, if you enroll in an annual writing course or an annual literature course, and somewhere in the first 100 days of that course, you decide it's not worth your money, you let us know and we'll refund the full tuition that you paid in the beginning. That's up to 100 days into a course. And I don't think any other program out there offers anything quite like that. And even after that, if for some unforeseen reason that maybe has nothing to do with the quality of the course that we're offering, you just decide you can't complete a course, if you have to move your kids, or some tragedy happens, or anything unexpected occurs that allows you that forces you to withdraw from a class, we prorate whatever money remains in your program. We think our prices are good to begin with, but we know that it's an investment, and we don't want homeschooling families to be concerned about what happens to that money if they invested in a Write at Home course. They're going to get their money's worth.
That's amazing. And you're right. I've seen hundreds at this point of different curricular options, and I don't think I've ever seen that. So that is very unique.
We're proud of it. It doesn't happen very often, which is why we continue to do it, right? Very few people
absolutely
ask for their money back.
Yeah. Well, where can people find you online?
WriteAtHome.com. And it starts with a W, right? It's writing, WRITE, at home.com. And there's plenty of information on our website. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so you can look for us there as well. And all of those are great places to get information about what we do.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, for being here and sharing with us today, and for being a 2023 World Homeschoolers Day sponsor.
Very proud to be a part of World Homeschooler Day. Thank you so much, Camille, for all you're doing to get that going. It's exciting.